Today, we're reviving an unfinished project of mine. This project was originally created for the Smogus 30-day challenge for day 16, free day. My inspiration for day 16 was to combine my two favorite things together, dragons and wolves. During the 30-day challenge, I had been drawing dragons for 30 days straight, so I wanted to mix it up and draw another favorite subject of mine, which resulted in this creature design. At the time, I thought it was pretty cool, but after coming back to it the next day, I don't know, I couldn't see what I liked about it anymore, and decided on scrapping it. The design wasn't very thought out well, and on top of that, I later realized that my watercolor sketchbook paper was too thick in order to see the sketch underneath it from my tablet, so I couldn't trace it into the sketchbook, which kind of defeated the purpose of having a digital sketch if I can't put it into my physical sketchbook paper for the challenge. Which brings us here. After doing some research and brainstorming, I've come up with a better design for this piece. First, let's restructure the neck. My plan for the drawing is to scrap most of the dragon elements to keep him more of a wolf, rather than a strange amalgamation hybrid. Here, I'm using a grayscale blocking in technique I've seen other digital artists use when defining their subject silhouettes. This method helps map out the light source and shadow areas early on in the design, and gives you a better idea of what parts of your subject are closer up and what parts are receding into the background. It's a method I want to practice more in my artwork to help me understand it and use it more effectively. I think something kind of fun to play around with would be adding in a red rim light for our subject and contrasting that with making his coat more of a green color and play off of those colors. I'm not sure if I'll stick with that idea entirely because I've never done a red rim light before or messed with something that complex. Defining the eyes tends to be one of the first things on my refinement list before I block in other shapes like the fur, so emphasizing a good contrasting orange within them will help capture the viewer's attention and make them stand out against his gray sort of monotone coat. Before I continue rendering, I'll flip my canvas to reveal any proportion mistakes and cross-reference my work with some side-by-side references. As much as I liked the lizard tongue idea, I don't think it'll be making its way into the final design, and at this point I was considering doing another refinement sketch on top of our previous design, but I don't think we necessarily need that at this point, so I'm going to skip that and move on to our rendering color and texture and all that kind of fun stuff. Painting fur. Yeah, I'm still getting used to this one. Blocking in the colors and creating that recognizable wolf pattern. For a while, I was playing around with bringing in more color to the white fur of his face, thinking of going more towards a warm yellow to warm our subject, and subtly blend it in with the green that is already present in his coat. Keep in mind, the background will be painted with cooler colors, more kind of blues and grays, so this contrast should help separate him from the background and create a nice effect for us. Yeah, I didn't get very far before someone pointed out to me that it looks like you rolled in crap, seeing that his fur is tainted yellow and discolored. Yeah, that's not what I'm going for. No, I gotta fix that. One moment as I fix this. I fix this real good. Let's give color a break and work on those paws. I'll probably time-lapse this bit because I'll be going back and forth between different positions and just playing around with it, and it's not quite interesting as the fur being rendered and painted. Lately, I've been trying to figure out what kind of time-lapse music to use for my Wolf speed paints. It seems like about everyone else tends to lean into the heavy metal guitar music with their time lapses, or the slow ambient, or even the intense cinematic music for their Wolf speed paints, which can work in some cases, but I don't know. I've always felt those moods or genres didn't quite capture them for me, and my wolves would probably be played at a different pace. So I'll play around and see what kind of songs or effects would help capture my subjects a little better. I'm glad I went back in and reworked the eyes. The previous version, being super dilated, wasn't quite working for us, and I figured out from some of my low light references that I pushed the eye dilation a little bit too far and made it unnatural. While reworking the eyes, I corrected the nose, and defined it from just being a placeholder blob. After a couple iterations, and bringing back the red rim light for the last time, we ended up with these golden green eyes. I'm pretty over the moon about how they turned out. I like the expression they give, and they work well to anchor the viewer's attention on them, and pull everything all together. I'm not really sure what to call this next stage. I experimented a lot while trying to figure out how to render his coat, and I'm happy with the results I was able to achieve, but there's still a lot that goes into rendering fur that I haven't grasped yet. My coat direction around the lower neck and chest could definitely be improved upon, along with learning how to tackle the shoulder fur and kind of rendering his paws leading up to his upper arms and those kind of areas. It's more of kind of shorter fur, and I haven't quite figured out how to nail that texture. Shrinking the brush kind of worked, but not completely in defining it how I would have liked. Surprisingly, rendering the horns was pretty easy. But now that I think about it, I should have added more browns into his coat patterning and incorporated that so that the horns blend in more. Because right now they kind of look like they've just been pasted on top and don't really have much of a connection to the whole of him. So that'll be something I'll have to work on in the future. I really enjoyed painting the background and leaning into some abstraction. This was the first time I've actually tried to paint a background before, so I was a little worried that I'd be one of those artists that would avoid backgrounds like the plague. But in the long run, I actually really enjoyed it, and it made more sense to me than painting his coat, which was kind of cool. I've heard that most artists fall into two categories, either a natural drawer or a natural painter, and I honestly have no idea which one I fall under. I feel like I've sort of tried both of them. In my last video, I relied on sketching over painting, but in this one, I kind of flipped the table and did the opposite, relying more on painting than sketching. So, I don't know which one I favorite more. It's something I'll have to experiment with in the future. With the final effects and rendering in place, our JackaWolf is complete. Naming credits goes to Discord user Psycho Meatfish for coming up with the Jackalope into a JackaWolf idea, which I thought was really cool. Definitely one of my favorite wolves by far, and it took about 16 hours to make. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to check out my last video, linked on the left, or my most recent one, here on the right. With that said, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.